Back when the Rockets traded Russell Westbrook to the Wizards, I said this is just the first shoe to drop. I said James Harden is gone too. I thought he would have been gone before the season started, but him leaving Houston was just a matter of time. I mean, you had guys like DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall, guys who just got to Houston this year, like a few weeks ago, calling James Harden out, saying they're not liking how he's, disrespecting the team by not putting his effort forth. When I saw guys who just got there calling James Harden out, I'm like, this guy has to go, and he has to go soon. So when he goes to Brooklyn, and I look at the team on paper, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, on paper, that's incredible. That's like an all-star team. But I don't know, there's something about me, I'm just like, it's not moving me like I feel it should move me. I should be more hyped about those three players being on one team than I am. Like, I don't see, once they get a groove, once they all get there and play a couple of games, I'm interested to see how Kyrie and James Harden share that responsibility handling the ball, because neither one of those guys play off the ball like how KD does. So we'll see. And it's also worth mentioning that all three of those guys, KD, Harden, and Kyrie, they all have a player option after next season. So all three of them could be unrestricted free agents after next season. So when I say this team is built to win right now, they are built to win right now. But speaking of Kyrie and Kyrie Irving, I've never seen, to me, for my money, he is the best ball handler I've ever seen. I've never seen anybody do what he does with the basketball dribbling ever in the history of basketball. I've never seen it. But I've never seen somebody so talented at what they do be so seemingly quote unquote out of touch. Like the opposite end of the spectrum. So talented and so out of touch, in my opinion, in one person. I mean, you've seen guys who are not superstars, not as good, and they kind of have off the wall theories about things in life. But a guy who's a superstar having these views, I've never seen it, the polar opposite so much in one person. I mean, he just left the team. He left the team because he, quote, just didn't want to play. I mean, it was the insurrection at the Capitol, what they're saying, that led him to want to do this, but he was out for 2 weeks. I don't know, man. It felt like, I don't know, because we're in this remote COVID climate, it's like Kyrie wanted to work remotely or something, for the Nets. You can't dial into Zoom and play basketball. You come in with the team or not. If you're not, give them an actual reason why you're not there. The team doesn't even know why you're not there. I don't know how many PTO days this guy has or what, but he needs to get back there. And with James Harden coming onto the team now, he's now more interested in playing. But I think he owes it to the team and to the fans to explain just what in the heck that whole hiatus was actually about. I don't think anybody really knows. All right, Bill Belichick. So, they had the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, all that. You know all about that, right? The next day or the day after, Trump offers Bill Belichick that presidential, Medal of Freedom, which is the highest honor to a civilian given by a president. And when I saw that they were going to offer it to Bill Belichick, my thought was, initially, if he doesn't accept it, first I thought he was going to accept it. Then I said, if he doesn't accept it, I wonder who's telling him not to. That ended up being what happened. He turned it down. He said he does not want to accept it given what was happening in the world, the current climate. I don't know, man. Deep down, I feel like I want to know who actually told Bill Belichick not to accept that. I could be a cynic, but I just don't feel like that was his decision. I don't know if it was his, quote, handlers, his agent, the team, the Patriots maybe thought it was a bad look. I don't know. I'm just skeptical that it was his decision to turn it down. It's not a big deal. It's just my personal curiosity. And lastly, Paul George. The Clippers played a game the other day on TNT, and the crew, after the game, Paul George spoke to the crew, and the crew, they were asking him a bunch of questions, and one of them was around the rumors that they had during the summer that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George get preferential treatment by the team. And so they asked him, Charles Barkley asked Paul George, to comment on the fact that it seems like, there's a rumor that you and Kawhi get preferential treatment at the expense of your teammates. And this is what Paul George had to say.
Paul, I hate when guys come out and talk about double standards for players when they get traded and things like that. Do you think there was a disconnect with the preferential treatment for you and Kawhi last year? That was the rumors. We don't know what's true, but there was a lot of stuff said that you guys got preferential treatment. Was that true or not true?
I mean, as you know, Charles, the dudes that put in the work, that built themselves up to be where they at, it's a reason they get to that level. They know what they need, and they know what makes them play at a high level. So whoever that offends, we ain't have that issue right now in this locker room. So.
And so after Paul George makes that comment, Kenny Smith said, he doesn't understand why any teammate would be upset at Paul for saying that. Let me just offer a different perspective. Like, if I am on the Clippers, if I'm on Paul George's team, just me, and I hear Paul George say, the guys that put in the work, this, that, and the third, they get certain things, and if you don't like it, too bad. I don't know, man. That, to me, first of all, I guess you would have to be a man and suck it up and say, okay, maybe Paul George is better than me. That's why he gets this preferential treatment. Maybe that's just what it is. And let me be clear. It's known, it is 100% known forever that superstars get preferential treatment by the team and by referees by way of calls. Like, we know that generally. It's not written, but we kind of know that. I think it's one thing to know that, to know what Paul George said, and it's another thing to actually say what Paul George said. I think in that situation, it was going to be completely okay for Paul George to lie, to just act like he and Kawhi don't get preferential treatment, even though everybody knows you do. I think it's okay to lie in that situation, because by being as honest as you were, I think you alienate yourself from the rest of your teammates, because you're a leader on the team. So I don't think you should be, openly saying, I am better than you, I am on a pedestal and you're not. I deserve this and you don't. That's what I heard Paul George said. Okay, that's what I heard Paul George say. Again, it's known, but I think it's another thing entirely to say it out loud. He could have just said, Chuck, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, and everybody would have been cool.